Today's guest has been through every new homeowner's worst nightmare. Lesley Deschamps-Yungblut purchased a home in Southern Ontario with her husband and 2 children in 2003. By 2005, they became sick and lethargic with fatigue, nosebleeds, muscle aches, and bruising. Noticing a strong chemical odor inside their home in February of 2006, they called the authorities. Soon after, they and their neighbors were forced to leave their semi-detached homes after alarming traces of dangerous chemicals, including benzene, xylene, hexane, and toluene, were found by the Ministry of Environment. Further investigation determined that aluminum chloride, coal, and wood was stored on the property historically. And shockingly, a number of massive bulk fueling stations had been zoned in that area. The Ministry of Environment never completed an assessment on the recreational area behind the house when it was rezoned, and this information was never disclosed to the Youngbloods when they purchased their family home. A professional engineer and hydrogeologist told Youngblood's family that the property was more toxic than a wasted gas station, and they were evacuated for 4.5 months and have never returned to the home. All expenses came out of the family's pocket, as while they were evacuated, they still had to pay the mortgage, lawyer bills, testing bills, and other out-of-pocket expenses. No records of cleanup have been received to date. In addition to the financial strain, this chain of events caused familial strains and tensions for Youngblood, in addition to long-term physical and emotional pain. The Southern Ontario City was confident that the source was a small residential gas spill by the Youngbloods' neighbors, and that the chemicals in the area were not because of historical land uses. This was backed up by the city's engineering firm. However, Youngblood disagrees, as the professional engineering firm she hired put forth evidence that the land has been deeply contaminated for years. She has spent the last 13 years fighting for her case. So, Lesley, that's quite the story. What can you tell me about where you're at now with this whole situation?
Wow, it is quite the story, and I want to thank you for taking the time out to bring this expose forward. It is a complicated one indeed. In the last few years, well, ever since this really happened, I've been advocating for answers to a lot of questions that still remain unanswered. And it seems to have gone from, this incredible environmental contamination issue with Mother Earth into a legal conduct type of manipulation. All efforts pointing or any information pointing to that has been dissolved, and now it's become a legal issue. And so for the last number of years, with countless queries gone unanswered to our lawyer, and our lawyer seeking out many extensions through the court systems, even extensions unbeknownst to us. He's been able to delay this. So in 2014, going into 2015, I took it upon myself to write the Upper Law Society of Canada. And I have a document for which I have titled Tainted. And it's a synopsis of about 11 years at that time of my experience with this. And it's not pretty. There are a lot of things that have gone on that are really unfathomable, that just blow me away. And it took the Upper Law Society approximately 1 year to review and evaluate all particulars.
Wow.
Yes, and they forwarded my information to our lawyer, and the lawyer had a rebuttal. And in his rebuttal, there were a number of things that I was either unaware of or that are just, they are not accurate. So it's very frustrating to get answers when you're dealing with this type of situation. So from there, in 2015, at the end of 2015, leading into 2016, I took it upon myself to write HRH, Her Royal Highness. She is the upper most elitist portion of the Supreme Court of Canada.
Right.
So I wrote her with the hopes that perhaps she can assist me in some way, shape, or form. And one of her executive corresponders got back to me, actually 3 different times we corresponded. But HRH indicated that she was going to send my document, my particulars, to the Attorney General. Well, I have yet to hear back from the Attorney General, so I'm not sure if that process ever
happened.
Right. And I also wrote Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, and his wife, addressed my document to them to see if perhaps they'd be interested in seeing what they could do to help advance this in an honorable and compassionate way.
Right.
And unfortunately, basically their response was that they cannot do anything because this is in the court system. Well, really, this is what's been being told to everyone, be it media or others who want to assist the situation. It's like, no, you can't. It's in the courts. We can't talk about it. Well, really, it has not been in the court system other than for extensions. Needless to say, last year, our lawyer got on the ball, and twice in July, twice in August, he had me drive to Southern Ontario to go to court. Wasn't sure what the court was going to represent. Perhaps the other lawyer, my lawyer, standing there determining a court date, perhaps that this would come together. So I drove to Southern Ontario, which is 10 hours one way. I did that 4 times last summer. My whole summer was taken up. No big deal. I was anxious to get moving with this.
Right.
But the first 3 trips down there were redundant. At the last minute, the lawyer said, oh, the courts need more information, more documentation, so, we're going to postpone it for an additional 2 weeks.
Right.
So back in 2 weeks, the same type of thing occurred 3 times. Finally, the 4th time at the end of August, I met with him in Toronto at the court office.
Right.
And our lawyer had a document that for which I was unaware of. And I did say to him before we went into the court office, what exactly are we here for? He laughed. He said, well, we're here for another extension, Lesley. And I said, oh, okay. So this, there's no more progress. Yeah, it's just another extension. And I'm not sure how many extensions courts award, but I'm pretty sure we've surpassed that amount.
So it's been extensions upon extensions. Yes. We'll get a little bit more into your story after this break. We'll be right back with the rest of Lesley's story.
Thank you.